January. Webster Tarpley is up the first hour tonight. Webster is with us often and has been truly astonishing in the accuracy and prescience of his political analyses that he has been kind enough to share with all of you and all of us for such a long time. Welcome back, my friend.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm happy to be with you tonight. This is actually the first anniversary of, I call it a delayed epiphany. Epiphany, of course, is when you get to see what's what, right? You get to see the face of the way things really are.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just a year ago today that I put out my first anti-Obama leaflet.
I remember.
In the course of that afternoon, I more or less figured out what it was with Obama, that it was another trilateral commission operation, and it was going to be the new Carter, and it was going to be much more catastrophic. And the goal was going to be to attack a whole series of countries, and it was going to be Pakistan and Sudan and so forth, and not Iran. And here we are. We've got about 2 weeks left under Bush.
Right.
No attack on Iran. No attack on Iran. And I don't think there'll be one.
I don't either.
Very surprised.
Not now. I don't either. Russia is sending hundreds more scientists down to finish the Bushehr reactor on time per their contract obligations with the Iranians. There are almost 2,000 of them, or at least will be almost 2,000 technicians and scientists on the scene here within the next couple of weeks. So I don't see it.
No, I don't think so, and I hope the Iranians can figure out where their bread is buttered, because they're being given all kinds of tempting counteroffers in the other direction.
Right.
But what I think the most urgent thing to talk about right now is economics. I mean, there are all kinds of other things going on, but I think the really big thing is the reality you can see reflected, let's say, even in the minutes of the Federal Reserve meeting of the previous month. That were released yesterday and or today.
Were they redacted, Webster? Or?
Well, it's bad enough. It is a protracted, a prolonged contraction of the real economy, with output shrinking sharply in the first half of the year, unemployment climbing all of 2009 into 2010, and the threat of deflation, which I don't think is realistic as they think, because what they're doing is telling you the reason they went to zero interest rates was because they're afraid of deflation. And it seems to me that the deflationary phase may be behind us, and we may be headed into a hyperinflationary phase. But the reality is that whatever else is going to happen, there will be a violent contraction of the existing levels of employment, production, standard of living, and so forth. And this now raises the question, how do you oppose this? And the world, the political discourse in Washington is now filled with talk about stimulus packages, bailouts, and
Obama's
things like this.
$700 billion stimulus package.
$700 billion.
The only thing that'll do is it'll push the total bailout bill to at least $8 billion. That's all he's going to achieve with that if he can get it through Congress.
I think it's actually $8 trillion, but
excuse me,
$8 trillion. Well, it's a little.
It's hard to keep track of
hyperinflation.
Yeah.
But look, let's look at this though, because it's certainly not enough to say all bailouts are bad. They're not. Some of them you need, and there are going to be some things in this that you really need. And the question is, how do you conduct intelligent politics under these circumstances? Now, first of all, I say what I think will not work. It simply will not work to stand aside saying free market, free market, free market, laissez-faire, laissez-faire, Austrian School, let it all come down, liquidate stocks, liquidate bonds, liquidate real estate, liquidate production, liquidate labor, and then hope for a recovery. I'm afraid we have some of our friends on the anarcho-capitalist right wing, or I don't know what to call them, who have locked themselves into this absurd position. And the problem is, if you do that, you're taking yourself out of the equation. You might as well be putting yourself in a zoo. It simply will not work. This will have nothing to do with anything. As the contraction becomes more and more severe, people will be looking not for ideology. They will not be looking for poisonous foreign doctrines like the Austrian School or von Hayek or any of this crazy stuff. they will be looking for answers. And we have, a lot of right-wingers think it's stylish to say, Obama's really bad. He's going to give people medical care. Obama's really bad. He's going to redistribute wealth. Well, that's absolutely ridiculous. First of all, he's not going to do these things. Any wealth that becomes available will be sent immediately to Wall Street, to Soros, to Rockefeller, to Goldman Sachs, and the rest of it.
Standard operating procedure.
But when they do this, they're actually doing advertisements for Barkey. They're helping Barkey with this crazy stuff. They think it's an attack. They come out and say, there's this guy Obama, and he thinks you have economic rights. Isn't that a scandal? Obama thinks that there should be a lesser income disparity between the rich and the poor. Isn't that outrageous? Well, this is basically carrying water to Obama's mill. In other words, you couldn't be doing Obama a bigger favor than this kind of stuff. And I really want to appeal to people. If this is the best we can do, Obama is going to have a field day. And unfortunately, at the end of all that, there's going to be a really horrendous ultra-right wing, and I'm not saying now, this is not fascist anymore, I'm saying Nazi. At the end of this, there's going to be something that has all the racism and xenophobia and the horrors of actual Nazism are waiting at the end of this, probably as a counter-reaction against Obama. So the question is, what can you do in the meantime? Now, I'll just give you a couple of examples.
Right.
Suppose we have a bailout. Suppose Obama says, I want to increase the funding for food stamps. What are you going to say? That's communism? That's socialism?
Mm-hmm.
Ridiculous. Say, yes, we'll take it. But this is, see, what Obama is doing is window dressing. These are basically little frills that he's going to put around the outside of a package, which is largely devoted to Wall Street bailout.
That's right. He's the king of eyewash. This is the biggest scam continually that I see.
Similarly, he'll say, let's put some money into unemployment payments. Let's put some. Let's give everybody 52 weeks of unemployment.
Are people going to be so stupid as to continue to lap that crap up, though?
Yeah, but look, the point is the stupidity is the Austrian school. The thing that paralyzes a whole area of opposition and puts it in the irrelevant deep freeze of I don't know what, some ideological never land, is precisely this stuff about free market, laissez-faire. Oh, if you go up to a guy on a bread line and say, buddy, you shouldn't be here. This is the nanny state. Don't you think the nanny state is robbing you of your dignity by giving you a bowl of hot soup? Well, you're going to get lynched. And therefore, I appeal to people. It is time to get back to reality and understand what is going on here. When you listen to Obama today, he brought out this woman who's going to be the performance evaluator. And he says she's going to go through the federal budget line by line and find things that are not necessary. This is very,
Wait a minute. Oh. I'm sorry. I've got to laugh. What is this? I missed it.
It's a performance evaluator. I forget the title.
Like an efficiency expert he hired?
Yeah, basically that.
Come on.
She's going to be the new Cap the Knife. Remember Weinberger started off as Cap the Knife, cutting things out of the budget?
Oh, this is a riot.
Senator Conrad of North Dakota, a very influential Democrat, appeared today with Spratt of South Carolina.
Uh-huh.
And Conrad talked about the need for entitlement reform. Now, this is where it gets very interesting. When they say entitlement reform, they mean the looting, the pillaging, the systematic robbing of Social
Webster.
Security,
you got it,
and Medicare.
Absolutely.
And basically saying, we're going to take your economic rights away.
Right.
Things that you have paid into all your life, your right to a dignified old age, your right not to die from lack of medical care or eating cat food in a freezing apartment or being homeless at the age of 90 or whatever it's going to come down to.
Yep.
That is what Conrad is talking about. Now, what they're basically saying is Bush tried to destroy Social Security using right-wing cover, and he failed. We will now try, using our overwhelming majorities in both houses of Congress and Barkey, the Wall Street puppet, we will now try to essentially destroy Social Security under left-wing cover. That is what Conrad said. They had a press conference with Spratt. Now, again, the problem is, how do you fight that? If you believe in the Austrian school and you think the nanny state is bad, well, you'll say, great, go to it. that's the freedom agenda, isn't it? That's going to basically force you back to rugged individualism in the Herbert Hoover tradition. So I think it's urgent for people to realize there are certain kinds of opposition that are not effective. They're not even opposition. They're basically helping Obama while taking yourself out of the equation into some kind of deep freeze.
Playing right into their hands.
Yes, that's it.
All right. Webster Tarpley is with us. I'm back in just a couple minutes. Glad you're along tonight, and thanks for the kind emails about our coverage at rense.com. A true panorama of what's going on in the Middle East and around the world, as always. And it's obscene to watch the controlled mainstream media in this country and Western Europe try to spin this massacre of humanity. Just obscene. All right, we'll be right back.